Hey guys, it's Will. So AI stocks have been running up recently, and we saw a correction and then some volatility yesterday. And the AI infrastructure that is growing fast is data center markets. And one of the data center markets that we're in and we're trading this morning, we just wrapped up our daily live trading session in StockMate. We entered this position on BITF. It's a data center company that we are up on this position here, just about a $4,900 investment. It's up about 5% so far, to about 270. At one point, we were up to about $300 profit or $400 profit here, close to 500 really, up around this $5.60 range. But we do see it pull back just a little bit. We got some risk management. We set our stop loss just below this previous support level. So we are monitoring it. We could probably move that up a little bit there. There we go, replace the order. That way we're at least locking it in above 5 grand. So when it's looking to the future and it's looking to where AI is going, where tools are going, and what most people are using on a daily basis to optimize their lives or their businesses, or just in general, their skills and how they deliver value to the marketplace, AI is being used a lot. And I see it. We're using it. I'll search up this stock here over on Mercatus, the machine, and let's get some analysis going. This is AI. It's using all of the data sources that I normally look at, plugging it in with AI and doing the analysis for me. So, we use AI every day. And the reason I say that is because, one of the things we were talking about in StockMate this morning when we entered this trade is that the companies that are building that infrastructure are seeing some recoveries, are seeing some positive momentum. So we're able to catch a little bit of it today. We'll see how long it holds, as it did just turn a little bit negative there, selling off just a tad. And the data center markets, we trade them quite often. Again, if you guys ever want to tune in live to our daily live trading sessions, it's the second link in the description below. Let's take a look at this Bitfarms company, BITF. At first, I was actually really skeptical when taking a look at them. A couple reasons why. First reason was of their chart. I had looked at their chart and I'd seen, okay, looks like they've ran up pretty heavily. We're literally at the top right now. So it looks pretty risky, right, to be at the top. Now, they've had basically a ton of consecutive green days. And as we started to see them surge or dip about 10% today, we saw them dip down big. We bought in right here. And now we've seen it recover. And then we set our stop loss there. So we're locked in for the profit. I was doing some research this morning with the team. And a lot of the best trades that I find come from investors in StockMate. If you go over to StockMate, you'll see we have about 28 individuals that have a net worth of over $1 million. They bring forth press releases. Lawrence is always on it. He brings forward a ton of good press releases. David just posted 16 hours ago. This isn't meant to do testimonials, but look at this. All time, he's up 200%. Up to 31,000. He's grown his account by $21,000. And so I tell you this not to brag about the members, although again, that's super cool. Congrats to David. Let me just like that post. Okay. I tell you that because the best stocks do not always come from my own research. Some of the quantum companies that we found maybe came from the conferences that I've went to, and I've seen the different companies and I found them. And maybe some of the space companies, because I've gone to some space conferences. But for the most part, like data center companies, I haven't been to any data center conferences or anything like that. But this company, Bitfarms, they came in with a data center infrastructure that they're building here. They are building with some, you can see some projects here, some financing that they're doing. So not any like major deals that you could see right on the front. You do have $300 million project financing happening there. But you do see here, Bitfarms appoints former AWS executive. So that's going to probably garner some potential partnerships. And then Bitfarms also announced partnership with T5 data centers to advance HPC and AI development at Panther Creek campus. So essentially, they're optimizing and building out data centers. And part of the reason why this is good is because you need, to the point of generation, companies that are using, in this case, straight near the water. Maybe it's hydroelectric. I think that's what that is. Maybe it's, I think that's what we're seeing here. Maybe it's related to, wind, or maybe based on the grid, but they have financials that have kind of backed it up. So we saw some increases in revenue over the last few quarters, and seeing that revenue spike in 2025 up to over 150 million so far, only halfway through. So they're on track to essentially double their revenue year over year here. They're up to 87% so far. Then you see their liabilities and their assets looking good, as their total assets have surged to about 827 million, with total liabilities at 165. So not too bad. Liabilities jumped, but see their assets growing. And then their market cap's about 3.3 billion Canadian, which again is pretty small compared to where they're at right now. So they're, again, we entered a trade here around $5 a share. I know that they're already up here, and I've heard people telling me about this stock since last week. We just haven't had a chance to take a look at it. And then I saw it, I think yesterday or day before, and I saw it was way up here, and I still haven't looked at the fundamentals. This morning, we saw it dip all the way down to 469 this morning. I said, okay, that's quite the dip. Let's go really dive into the fundamentals this morning. And we did that in StockMate, and then ended up, like I said, entering this position here. And so we're gonna monitor it. We are up from that $5.30 or $5 price point that we entered in. And so we're just gonna continue to watch as we've seen this nice move play out. We're up about $300 profit on a relatively small investment. So for you, the investor that's looking at this company now, again, it does take some risk management. We have to set our stop losses. We have to, especially when you see volatility, where there's been times where in a matter of 24 hours, or not even, literally in a matter of hours, on Friday, which was an extreme example, dropped from basically $5.10 down to $3.20. So really big drops. And you got to be ready for that. Now, of course, we bought on the dip, after the dip, but then we set stop losses when we get up into the green, and we lock in the profits. That's really important. And so from the financial perspective, it looks good for the most part. And then from the market perspective, one thing is, if I was doing a data center company, I would probably look to not worry about building one massive data center, but building a bunch of smaller data centers. I mean, that's kind of what I'm already kind of eyeing right now for our AI company. As I was mentioning, I was just talking with Ryan, our developer, a while back, and we took on his brother, actually, who has some expertise in data centers, and we were saying, hey, what if at some point we have our own setups, our own racking systems? We're like, yeah, that sounds good. Don't need to start huge. This company has got Panther Creek. That's kind of a bigger one. Then you got some smaller ones. Here's an even smaller one here in Washington. Here in Sharon, it's a smaller one. These aren't like huge. They're warehouses, obviously, but they're not like massive. Like, that's a data center right there. 18 energized capacity, future capacity 18. You can see they're not like scaling up with one massive center. They're having all these kind of smaller data centers. And I think it's pretty cool. I think there's probably some element of this where they're mining Bitcoin, I would imagine, with the Bitfarms as the name. And so we're just gonna continue to look for the levels to hold around that $5.15 to $5.30 range. That's kind of where they're at today. So we'll watch there. And then when it comes to the trade, we entered it this morning. We got some risk management going. So data centers off to a good start. APLD is up 5%. We will hold all of our long-term positions in the data center markets, as that's growing quite fast. And then when it comes to semiconductors, NVTS was up 20% today. They've been running up pretty aggressively. And then AI defense, I think this morning at market open, Big Bear started off negative 5%, then recovered 3.8%, holding above that $9 price point today for Big Bear, almost the same price as Redwire. So really, really cool to see the markets recover. Now we're going to see that stabilization, see how it kind of plays out into today. And then as far as general stock market news, we had a China trade tensions persisting today. You could see that the Dow was down 85 points. S&P started the day down 1%. Earnings reports from JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and some of the others. Let me check StockMate. And again, that's a great one for David. Exciting earnings. This is where we have our daily live trading sessions, but I also released some of the earnings we're watching this week. So BlackRock reported this morning. JP Morgan reported this morning. Most banks, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, when we were looking at some of the reports, BlackRock came in and they downplayed some of their debt, and there was some bankruptcies that were linked to specific debt markets, and overall credit quality still remained strong from them because they, obviously they're a creditor. But the private credit markets seem largely unaffected. And there was just two companies, I think it was First Brands and Tricolor, that had declared bankruptcy. Very smaller segments of their market, but little bit of a shook there. Nothing too alarming, pretty normal. That happens quite often in BlackRock companies. And so when you're looking at the movement today, we look at some of the greater stock market news and the other earnings we have going. You got ASML, that's always a big one, along with Synchrony Bank. A lot of the companies this week give us insight into how consumers are behaving. So from a financial perspective, you can see what the banks are reporting. KeyBank is reporting. Actually used to be a financial consultant at KeyBank, so there's a lot of insights they get into the economy. Bank of America, Morgan Stanley tomorrow, so that will give us some economic indicators actually. And then you got United Airlines reporting. Not any major reports this week. Maybe Taiwan Semiconductor is the biggest one to watch, as they have the semiconductor market basically on their heels right now because they are so good. They provide for NVIDIA and for AMD, Apple, and many others. TSMC is legitimately one of the top semiconductor companies in the world. I think they might even be top 10 in the world by market cap. So they're reporting on Thursday. So we're going to see how that goes. If you ever want to tune in live to our daily live trading sessions like we had this morning, it's not here on YouTube publicly. It's a special link that you get each morning in your email at market open about 15 minutes before, and you get a live session that happens first thing in the morning at around 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to tune in, you get to see our entries, see our exits, you get to see this trade like we made today. We made some other trades last week, and we share them quite often. Sometimes they're longer term investments, sometimes they're kind of shorter term, like in this case. And if you ever want to surround yourself with other investors, we got 28 millionaires in StockMate. And not only do you get the live sessions each morning, Monday through Friday, but you get a free t-shirt when you join as a bonus. I'll send it to you anywhere in the world. So again, it's the second link below, and we do have a special sale for the government shutdown that's ending soon. If you want to go take advantage of it, it's the second link in the description again. Appreciate you all. Fire your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.